Hey, what is going on guys, RvzStealth here, and in today's video, the Wukong rework is live, so we'll be taking a look at a few different setups for him going around at the moment. Death's Dance is also really strong right now on a bunch of different champions, so we'll be going over those in this video, as well as many more new champions, builds, and rune setups that you should be looking to use in this patch. So with all that being said guys, let's get right into it. So let's start things off here by taking a look at the Death's Dance changes. The item is now going to give you 30 armor as well as 30 magic resist. However, it's going to be giving you less AD now. Instead of 80, it's going to be giving you 50. So it's a little bit more of a durable item. You're going to be a little bit more tankier when you do pick this up. Now, depending on the champion, it's going to either slot in as a really good rush item, second item, or third item. So you don't want to go for it at the same point in your build path on every champion. And on screen there, I've put as to where you should be looking to pick it up depending on the champion you're playing. So for champions there you'd want to rush it on would be the Aatrox top lane, the Olaf top lane, Urgot top, and then as well as the Graves top. Graves top is something we'll take a look at a little bit later on in the video, but he does very well with that Death's Dance rush as well right now. Second item there, you'd be looking to go for it on Riven after you complete like Black Cleaver, Alawi after you go Trinity Force, you go Death's Dance, Wukong Trinity Force into Death's Dance, same thing with Darius there, same thing with Yorick, and then for the Katarina you'd be going Gunblade and then Death's Dance. And then pretty much any bruiser in the game could look to pick this up as a third or fourth item depending on how the game is going. I think on a lot of these picks here, it's going to depend on your win condition. So if your win condition is to split push and you need to be 1v1ing in the side lane, I would look to grab Death's Dance as like a third or fourth item, because if you're playing something like Fiora or Camille and you already have like a Ravenous Hydra there, and then you add a Death's Dance to that, you have a lot of sustain, a lot of good 1v1 potential with those two items. If you're going to be looking to team fight though, the Death's Dance isn't going to be as good a lot of the time as something like a Asterix as your third or fourth item, or a Guardian Angel. So I wouldn't go Death's Dance every single game on these picks. I would go for it more so situationally. The only champion there that's doing really well with it pretty much every game as a third item is the Yasuo. So with Yasuo going for like a PD into your Infinity Edge and then Death's Dance as your third item, that's doing really good on him right now. So he's really the only champion there I would say that is a must buy as your third item. Every other champion is pretty much depending on the situation. Alright, so let's take a look at Wukong now. So far in this patch, there's a couple different build setups going around on the champion. He's doing very well right now up in the top lane. He's got the highest win rate so far in this patch for any top lane champion. So if you want to play a strong pick right now, Wukong top, one of the best that you can play in the game. But as for the builds going around on him, there's two different builds right now that are becoming pretty popular. There's either the Tiamat into Triforce and then Death's Dance. That's the one that most Wukong players are going for in this patch. And then there's more so the Korean build, to where you go Blade of the Ruin King Rush into a Black Cleaver and then Death's Dance as your third item. So I would definitely look to try out both these builds on Wukong depending on the situation. If the enemy team is very squishy, if they're not going to be building a ton of HP throughout the game, look to go for the Triforce into Death's Dance build. It's going to be a much better build into squishy targets. If the enemy team does have a lot of tanks though, or if they're just going to be building a ton of HP, then look to try out the Bork into Cleaver and then Death's Dance. And then for the rune setup on Wukong there, it's going to be pretty standard almost every single game. You're not going to be looking to swap things up too much. Conquer is going to be the go-to rune, the go-to keystone there. Gets even better on reworked Wukong because your ultimate, every tick of it, is now going to give you a stack of Conquer, so it works really well on the new Wukong. For your secondary runes there, you can swap it up. Some players are going Resolve secondary. Most players are going Inspiration secondary. Inspiration's doing a little bit better than Resolve, so you can look to mess around with your secondary runes a little bit, but I would not go for anything else than Conquer as your keystone. Now, a pretty unconventional top lane pick that's doing really well with those Bork buffs from last patch is the Rengar top. So Rengar top, really good pick right now if you can play him well. I think he's always one of the most underrated top lane picks, just because you can get a ton of solo kills in the early game. You can snowball super hard, just because a lot of players aren't going to understand how to play around that bush mechanic that you have, and the ability for you to just go into the bush, jump onto them in the laning phase, get a really big chunk off on them even at level 1, and then they just have to like sit back at their tower. If they move too far forward, you just jump on them again, get a free first blood, and you can just snowball extremely hard with this pick. Now for this build on Rengar of the Bork into Black Cleaver and Death's Dance, it does really good into a lot of bruiser top lane picks, so it just gives you a lot of sustained damage there. The Bork as a rush item does really well into any bruiser who's going to be rushing an HP item. So the only real downside to this build is that you just don't have that pure one-shot potential if you go for like a lethality build on your Rengar, but you just have a lot of sustain with your Bork and your Death Dance. You got a lot of consistent damage there. You're gonna be able to stack up your Conquer really quickly. You have a lot of healing when you're in the 1v1, so it just makes you a lot more durable throughout the game, allows you to 1v1 a lot better, allows you to be a lot stronger in team fights because you're just not gonna jump in one shot and then die right away. So overall, great build on Rengar. If you want to pick up a new top laner, if you want to play a new unconventional top lane pick, then definitely look into the Rengar top. Now, another top lane pick that does very well with the Bork Rush that you wouldn't really expect is the Set top. So this is becoming more and more popular now on him in patch 10.6. Only about 2% of players were taking it on him in 10.5. That's jumped up to around 10% of players going for this as a rush item now in 10.6. So it's overall a great item for the champion because it kind of shores up a lot of his weaknesses, right? Sets a champion to where he can be easily kited. Like his main weakness is that he can't really get onto his target super easy. He doesn't have that gap closer in his kit. He doesn't have that long range CC ability. So by going for the Bork Rush there, it gives you that bonus movement speed, and then once you finish the Triforce, you're also getting more movement speed out of that item too. So it just allows you to do a really good job at sticking onto your target and just dealing a lot of consistent damage. Now for Irelia, there's a new setup going around here at the moment that's pretty much unanimously become the #1 setup for her over the past 2 patches here, and it's a Bork Rush into a Wit's End second and then Black Cleaver third. So you're completely ignoring going for a Trinity Force on Irelia, which is really weird because that item has always been like the #1 item for Irelia, but this build here in the past 2 patches is becoming a lot more popular, and almost every single Irelia player now is no longer going for Triforce. They're going for this setup. So basically what you're getting out of this build on Irelia, there's a lot of different pros to it. You're getting a very early 2-item spike. So the Bork and Wit's End is 1,000 gold cheaper than if you were to go for something like a Triforce into a Titanic Hydra. That item path is going to cost you 1,000 more gold. So you just get a very quick spike here with those 2 items. It gives you a lot more on-hit damage as well. So you just deal a ton of damage from your auto attacks. You're not as reliant on landing like multiple Qs onto the target or landing your stun. You just deal a lot of consistent damage there from your autos. So moving on to that Graves top pick now, after the changes Graves did get a couple patches ago, he got some direct buffs to where his Q got buffed, the mana cost on it got reduced, the cooldown on it got reduced, and in this patch now, it gets even better with those Death Dance changes. Death Dance Rush is a great item on Graves right now, gives you really good dueling potential once you end up finishing that item. Second item on the Graves top, a lot of players are going for Black Cleaver right now. You can also look to go for Bloodthirster if you want, and that just gives you insane dueling potential, insane 1v1 because you have so much lifesteal there from Death Dance and Bloodthirster. You're gonna run the overheal too, and you're gonna run the Bloodline in your runes, so it just gives you an insane amount of sustain there when you are looking to side lane with this champion. And then once you complete your core build on Graves, once you finish your Phantom Dancer there, you just become pretty much a ranged juggernaut. You're very difficult to kill. You got a very good 1v1, a lot of sustain coming out of the champion. So if you're looking for a pick right now that can do very well into a lot of the meta bruiser top lane picks, and Graves is something I'd look to pick up for sure. So a new pick that's making his way into the mid lane for this patch is Garen. So Garen mid and top right now are very strong picks. Mid lane Garen especially is extremely underrated and extremely strong at the moment because he does very well into most like melee assassin picks. He can do very well into things like the Katarina. He can do well into the Talon, the Fizz, even the Diana right now. So he just does great into a lot of those more so like annoying assassin melee champions that most other mid laners, most other conventional mid lane picks tend to struggle against a little bit more. For your 2 core items on Garen, most players right now are really liking the Triforce into Static Shiv. Just gives you a great 2-item spike, a lot of burst potential once you pick up those 2 items, really good 1v1 potential there. And then later on in the game, you can transition into going for a tankier build. So you can go for Deadmans. If you really want to, you can go for Death Dance as your 3rd item to add even more damage into your build there. But generally going for like a more tankier build to round it out after your Triforce and Static Shiv is the way to go. So overall, this is definitely the most underrated good pick in the game at the moment, the best pick that you can probably climb with in the lower elos right now. So if you are looking to climb for mid lane and you are like bronze, silver, gold, then pick up Garen mid, add it to your champion pool, has very good matchups at the moment, is a very easy champion to play, and you should really not be playing anything else in this patch if you are looking to climb. Now for the bot lane in this patch, there's nothing too meta shifting right now. There's nothing that's just popping up that's just extremely underrated, but there is this new build setup going around on Varus right now, this lethality build to where you rush the Umbral Glaive, you go into a Yomu's and then an Edge of Night. So by going for this build on Varus, it just really simplifies how you want to play the champion. You don't have to rely on your kiting with this champion by going for that Bork into Rageblade setup. Like, you have a lot of attack speed there with that setup on Varus. You really do rely on being able to kite well in fights in order for you to deal maximum damage. But if you go for this setup here, this lethality setup, you really don't have any attack speed. You're very ability reliant, your ultimate reliant, your Q reliant there. So you just got to focus on hitting those two abilities. If you can hit those, you're going to be very successful with this pick here, and it's a very fun champion to play as well. Just getting a ton of poke off with your Q can be really satisfying in fights. Finding that good pick with your ultimate, really satisfying on the champion there. So if you want to play a new AD carry in this patch with a setup that is very unique and something you don't see on a lot of other champions, look to pick up Varus. Now, a really good bot lane synergy in this patch that gets a lot better here in 10.6 and it gets a lot better in general in season 10 is Ziggs paired up with Xerath. So this is a bot lane combo that is extremely annoying to play against. You have so much poke in the laning phase with this combo. If the enemy does not like look to all in you very on in the laning phase, if they don't find a level 2 all in, you're just gonna poke them out. You're just gonna have them under tower. You're gonna have perma prio throughout the entire laning phase, and you're gonna be able to win lane pretty much every single game with this synergy. Really nice thing about this synergy too is you can swap up who's the carry for every single game. Both champions work well in either the carry role or the support role. So if you're playing with a duo, you don't have to play like one role every game. You can look to swap that up and keep things interesting. And then lastly here to round it out, we got one support pick that is on the rise here in 10.6, and it's the Maokai support. So Maokai support is godlike right now into any other engaged support. So if you're going up against a Leona, a Nautilus, a Blitz, a Thresh, look to pick up Maokai. He's the best counter to those champions in this patch right now. Does really well into them because if they try to engage on him or his AD carry, he's got very easy lockdown to help peel for his carry. So if Leona hits an E onto your AD carry, you W onto her, you knock her away with your Q, and you just allow your AD carry to kite things out really nicely. Once you do finish your Ziggs convergence as well, really good all in there at level 6. You got so much lockdown. You pretty much have like a couple seconds worth of lockdown that's very easy to execute. It doesn't take any skill to use it all. So at level 6, especially if you're playing with an aggressive AD carry, and then once you finish your Ziggs convergence, you should find yourself picking up a ton of kills with this Maokai support. Alright, so that's gonna be all for the video, guys. Those are a bunch of new things, new meta changing things in this patch right now that's popping up that you should be looking to try out for 10.6. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.